Even your emotions deceive you. The mind tells you, this feeling is about now. Jung would say it often isn't. Emotional reactions are frequently echoes of unresolved experiences. The intensity does not match the moment because the source lies elsewhere. But instead of tracing emotions inward, the mind attaches them to the nearest explanation and moves on. Perhaps the most dangerous lie the mind tells is about control. It convinces you that if you think enough, analyze enough, plan enough, you can master life. Jung saw this as a tragic illusion. Overthinking, he believed, is often the ego's attempt to dominate what it refuses to understand emotionally. The mind talks endlessly to avoid listening. Dreams were Jung's proof that the unconscious cannot be silenced. Every night, when the ego loosens its grip, the unconscious speaks in symbols. But the mind lies by dismissing dreams as meaningless. Because symbols threaten logic. They demand interpretation, humility, and openness, qualities the ego resists. Jung believed that life itself becomes symbolic when the unconscious is ignored. Accidents, illnesses, breakdowns, and crises often arise when inner conflict reaches a breaking point. The mind calls these misfortunes. Jung saw them as messages, attempts by the psyche to restore balance when conscious awareness fails. This leads to Jung's most radical idea: meaning does not come from comfort, it comes from confrontation. The mind lies by chasing happiness, security, and positivity, while avoiding depth. But Jung believed that avoiding suffering does not eliminate it. It postpones it, intensifies it, and gives it power over you. The process Jung proposed, individuation, is the gradual dismantling of self-deception. It is the willingness to see what you are, not what you wish to be. To integrate the shadow rather than destroy it. To listen to the unconscious without being consumed by it. This process feels like loss because illusions are comforting. But illusions are also prisons. Jung never promised peace. He promised wholeness. And wholeness is unsettling. It means accepting that you are not purely good or bad, strong or weak, rational or irrational. You are all of it. The mind lies because it cannot tolerate this complexity. But maturity begins where the lie ends. In the end, Jung believed the greatest danger was not ignorance, but unconsciousness. Not darkness, but denial. The mind lies to keep you asleep. And awakening does not come through positive thinking, but through courageous self-observation. Your mind is lying to you, not because it hates you, but because it fears transformation. Because if you truly saw yourself, you could no longer be controlled by the stories you tell yourself. And the moment you realize that, the lie begins to lose its power. Your mind feels intimate. It speaks in your own voice. It feels trustworthy because it has been with you your entire life. Every thought you have feels personal, intentional, and true. Yet Carl Jung believed this familiarity is precisely why the mind is so dangerous. The closer something is to you, the harder it is to see clearly. And according to Jung, most people never realize that their own mind is not a guide, but a skilled manipulator. From childhood, you were taught to believe that thinking equals control, that awareness equals freedom, that if you understand something, you dominate it. Jung shattered this comforting belief. He argued that consciousness is only a small island in a vast ocean of unconscious forces. And the mind's greatest deception is convincing you that the island is the whole world. Your mind lies first by telling you that you are rational, that your decisions are carefully considered, that you act based on logic and values. But Jung observed something unsettling. People often decide emotionally first, unconsciously, and only later invent reasons to justify their behavior. The mind does not reveal motives. It fabricates explanations. This is why people defend choices that clearly harm them, relationships that drain them, and identities that suffocate them. Think about how often you say, "That's just how I am." Jung would call this one of the most powerful lies the mind tells. Because personality, as most people understand it, is often a psychological defense, not an authentic self. It is a structure built to survive early experiences, approval, rejection, fear, and expectation. The mind lies by turning adaptation into identity. At the center of this deception is the ego, the part of you that says I. The ego wants stability. It wants to believe it knows itself. It wants the world to make sense. But reality is chaotic, contradictory, and ambiguous. So the ego simplifies. It edits memory. It avoids uncomfortable truths. Not to harm you, but to protect its fragile sense of order. Jung warned that the ego is terrified of the unconscious, because the unconscious contains everything the ego refuses to acknowledge: forbidden desires, unacceptable impulses, unresolved pain, and unlived potential. The mind lies by pretending these things don't exist, and when they surface, the ego calls them weakness, madness, or external problems. This is where Jung introduced one of his most disturbing ideas: the shadow. The shadow is not evil by nature. It is simply everything you have been taught not to be. Anger when you were told to be polite. Confidence when you were told to be humble. Desire when you were told to be good. The mind lies by labeling these parts as not me, pushing them into darkness. But the shadow does not die. It grows stronger the longer it is ignored. Jung noticed that people who repress their shadow become rigid, judgmental, and emotionally explosive. The more moral someone believes themselves to be, the more unconscious their darker impulses often are. The mind lies by equating repression with virtue, when in reality, repression creates instability. This is why Jung believed that unchecked goodness can be just as dangerous as open cruelty. When people refuse to acknowledge their capacity for harm, it leaks out indirectly, through manipulation, passive aggression, hypocrisy, or self-destruction. The mind insists, "I would never do such a thing," while quietly laying the groundwork for exactly that behavior. Another lie the mind tells is about other people. You believe you see them objectively, that your judgments are fair, that your reactions are justified. Jung argued that this is rarely true. Much of what we perceive in others is actually projection, our unconscious qualities mirrored outward. The mind lies by externalizing internal conflicts. When someone irritates you irrationally, overwhelms you emotionally, or fascinates you beyond reason, Jung would say the unconscious has been activated. Something inside you recognizes itself, and the ego panics. Instead of turning inward, the mind points outward. Blame feels safer than self-examination. Judgment feels easier than responsibility. This is why the same emotional patterns repeat throughout life. The same types of partners, the same conflicts, the same disappointments wearing different faces. People call it bad luck. Jung called it unconscious compulsion. Until awareness enters the picture, the mind reenacts the same story again and again, while convincing you it's something new. The mind also lies through memory. You believe you remember the past accurately. Jung disagreed. Memory is not a recording. It is a reconstruction. The mind reshapes the past to protect identity. It minimizes guilt, exaggerates injustice, and edits events to preserve self-image. This is why two people can experience the same event and remember entirely different realities.